Welcome to the Retro Video Store Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Video Podcast. I'm your host, Eric. Couldn't remember who I was for a second.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host, Neil.
And who was able to at least hold himself together professionally to do this intro?
Dave.
Dave,
Hey,
that's
Dave.
right.
We were laughing before we pressed the record button, so I was trying to stifle my laugh, and then I forgot who I was, so...
I would just like to point out that before we record, we are funny as hell.
We are super funny.
While we record, not so much. Because we can be as incorrect as we want to be when it's not recorded and could be used against us in a court of law.
Yeah, my boss is not going to can you answer for this? What?
Well, while we record, I usually just stay quiet and just try to wait for this hour to go by. Just feel my obligation, and then...
Now you know what your girlfriends feel like.
We noticed that, Dave. We noticed that, just a font of wisdom. Always talking, never shutting up. Just, always just...
I do have a couple good tidbits for this one, so I'm excited.
Sweet. Well, today we're doing Tremors from 1990, and I totally forgot how awesome this movie was. I have not seen it in a long, long time, so we'll get to that here in a few minutes, but let's do what we always do. David, did you watch anything this week?
I did. I actually watched the Infield Haunting. Infield Haunting, you know what I'm talking about?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. Is it good?
Yeah, it's a four-part series about the haunting that inspired The Conjuring, like the true story of in the UK there.
Yeah, it's about the girls that were possessed or something.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, the little girl, and then apparently the Warrens went over there at one point. But the documentary, or this didn't have the Warrens in it, but it was good. But I want to just ask the question about why does every time the demon take over a young girl, they have that voice and they say the most foul shit that's ever come out of Satan's mouth, right, or the devil's mouth, every time,
It's like an exorcist. They want us to despair. They want us to believe that, they can sully a pure child or something like that to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
I've also listened to a last podcast on the left did a series on that one, and they're trashing the Warrens because the Warrens kind of insinuated themselves in the movie like they had a lot to do with it, but they were there for a week, and then they're they got told to bugger off, but now they're trying to cash in on it. They're such charlatans.
Yeah. Well, but I just thought it was funny about every time they're like, "Are you here? What spirit are you trying to say?" And then it's I don't know, some voice is let me see if I can. It's you nitty boy, or you'll cry in the shower while you jerk off to your grandmother. And you're like, holy shit, demon! I just asked why you were moving the curtains every night, or something.
Just chill out for a second. Jeez,
yeah.
You need to work so blue here.
Yeah, and then imagine if that just was always there. So you're always, you cook, you bring a girl over dinner, for the first time, a date, and the demon's hanging out in the corner and just, saying some foul shit to your date the whole time. And you're going to wet the bed, you little, whatever. You're like, oh, come on, I don't know. That's what I had a good time. I just thought about it.
I saw a meme about the Amityville Horror today, and they said $85,000 for a 5-bedroom house. I'm going to have to live with these poltergeists, and I are going to have to live together. We're going to get along.
Figure out how to make this work.
Exactly.
Eddie Murphy did a great number about that in one of his acts. He was talking about the difference between white families and black families. It was oh, look at this. Oh, it's great schools, and look at these high ceilings. Get out. Oh, I think I heard the wind. I'm not sure what that is. And then it was the black family, get out. We're not staying. Pack up your shit. We're out of here.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I watched. Neil, what did you watch this week?
Well, as was pointed out last week, I didn't look good.
You look better this week.
Go fuck yourself. So it turned out I was not just was not at the tail end of sick. I got sick. I mean, I got real sick. So I didn't watch much just because I just kind of laid there in despair and pain and coughing and sweats and all sorts of stuff.
Waiting to die.
That's what it felt like, honest to God. So I did listen to a new podcast. It's called Small Town Murder. It's about two comedians, and they talk about odd murders. Dave's nodding his head, right? Have you heard it?
Yeah, such a good podcast.
It is such a good podcast. This one is called, the one I'm listening to is called, and I'm going to put a plug for these guys. This one's called Flying Vampire Tinder Date.
Flying Vampire Tinder Date.
Yes. In Wilbur, Nebraska, a young woman seemingly promised Tinder date leads to another and then to her disappearance. After much searching, she is found in so many pieces that none of it makes sense. Who is responsible? Obviously, a couple who run their own little cult where one claims to be a flying, mind-reading vampire who can give you powers if you breathe in the victim's dying breath. And then they talk about the region, they talk about the people, and all sorts of stuff. It's a really, really good podcast.
I got to give them a plug too. They're great, and what I like is that you can scroll through, find the city, and they have a couple in New Mexico, and the other host, I think Jimmy, hates New Mexico. It's his least favorite state.
That's funny.
Next to Florida.
Nice.
So every time they go, we're going to New Mexico, he's like, oh boy, because he hates it, and it's funny. It's a great podcast.
Well, now I'm intrigued. I'll have to check it out.
So it's a very good podcast. And then Sunday, there were no more fevers. My breathing was much, much, much better. So I told my wife I wanted to go out. So we figured just going and sitting in a movie would be a nice chill kind of thing to do. So we went and watched Dune 2 for the second time because she enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And again, they didn't have the pornographic popcorn bucket. I was a little upset about that. I really wanted the pornographic popcorn bucket. And then we get home. I sit down on the couch. I was exhausted from going to see a movie, which was really sad. And we turn on the TV, and the first thing that comes on the streaming service is Wonka. And my wife is like, "Hey, let's just keep this. Let's go Timothy Chalamet all night long." I said, "Okay, cool. Let's turn it on and watch it." That is one weird movie. He is not a singer. I will give him credit though. He tries. It's a really well made film, but it's nothing that I would watch twice. It's just not my cup of tea. And apparently I just got an email.
So you can get a Dune popcorn bucket for like $60 is the cheapest one I can see on eBay. There's another one that comes with a bottle of Lubriderm for $114.
You know what?
And they call it the Dunusy. Dunusy.
Yeah, I wonder why.
There's another one for $59, $51, $71. So the one with the Lubriderm makes me laugh.
Well, I'm just waiting for Christmas, Eric.
All right. Maybe the price will go down by then. Just have to clean it out very good.
All right. So you watched documentaries about Tremors. You watched Tremors 3 or 4 times. What else did you watch?
I did watch Tremors twice, and I watched a few making of things on it, which is pretty cool. Then I watched Planet Terror on Showtime because it's been on a lot. The Robert Rodriguez half of Grindhouse with the zombies that are infected, and it's got a huge cast, and Quentin Tarantino and Bruce Willis and Rose McGowan, and it's super, super funny. And one thing I love about the movie is the blood squibs are just so overdone. I mean, we're talking just big juicy blood squibs flying out everywhere. It's almost like a little bit more than Paul Verhoeven, and Verhoeven was the master of the blood squib.
He loves his blood squibs, that man.
But yeah, I watched that. It's pretty funny. It's entertaining. It's very indulgent. It insists upon itself. But I switched to YouTube TV, and they're not paying me to say this, but it's pretty awesome. I've watched part of The Godfather Part 2. I watched a lot of Adam Sandler on Stars. They have a bunch of his movies on there, and so it's just kind of nice to flip back and forth and watch a bunch of movies here and there. Watch a lot of basketball because it's NCAA March Madness is about to start, so all the conference tournaments were this week. So I watched a buttload of basketball and played this game called They Are Billions. Really enjoying that still. So yeah, been a lot of just kind of loafing around, but enjoyed it. But I did enjoy Tremors, and I'm surprised how much I liked it. It's been a long time since I saw it. I just remember that it was always in rotation on the Sci-Fi Channel and on TNT. And you can see why, because it's not very long. It's not like gratuitous with the nudity and blood, so it's something you could definitely stick in a 2-hour time slot on TNT. And yeah, it was way better than I remember. And
Didn't we see this together?
I don't remember if we saw it in the theater together, but I remember maybe probably at home and watching it at least once or twice. But yeah, it was pretty good. I remember seeing this video at Hastings rent all the time. I mean, constantly people were renting Tremors. You want to hit us with the Internet Movie Database tagline?
Natives of a small isolated town defend themselves against strange underground creatures which are killing them one by one.
All right.
No commas in that one either. No commas. That's pretty impressive for IMDb.
David, when did you first see this?
I don't think when did it come out?
1990.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if I saw it in the theaters or not, but I probably saw it on VHS at home shortly after. Yeah, it was a rental. I liked it. I watched it a lot with, I remember, one of my other buddies. His name is also Dave. Huge fan of the show. Just want to say he's listened to it once or twice.
Oh,
and
nice. Once or twice? That's not really a huge fan.
He's a huge fan of the show. Okay. Dave loves it. And but yeah, he and I watched this together all the time. I remember he loved this movie. And I think he actually showed it to me.
Yeah, I think most people wound up seeing this on VHS because it was released on January 19th of 1990 and had a $10 million budget, but only made $16 million at the box office. And you can even look it up on this Wikipedia. It says, while only a modest hit at the box office, Tremors went on to become a massive hit on home video. Purchases, rentals, and television become one of the most rented films of 1990. Because of this, it has gained a very large cult following over the years. And it was directed by Ron Underwood, and he has a very interesting director, filmography. He did a lot of TV, but a very weird collection of movies. He did Tremors, then he did City Slickers in 1991, Heart and Souls, which is, I think, it's a movie with Robert Downey Jr. being influenced by ghosts, a movie called Speechless with Michael Keaton, Mighty Joe Young, which is a giant gorilla movie for Disney. Then he did The Adventures of Pluto Nash, one of the most notorious flops in the history of movies. Eddie Murphy vehicle that was just insanely bad. And it cost the studio a fortune. So he went back to TV after directing one more movie after that. In the Mix, which is a movie with Usher and Chaz Palminteri in 2005. Quite definitely an odd collection of movies. But this movie has a shitload of sequels, which I have never seen any of them. Neil, have you seen any of them?
I've seen the second and I've seen the third, but after that I have not. I'm seeing bits of I think 4. I think I've seen bits of it just on TV, just skipping through back when I used to have cable.
I think 4 is a prequel from what I've read. Yeah. It says the franchise Tremors 2 Aftershocks in 96, Tremors 3 Back to Perfection was in 2001, prequel Tremors 4 The Legend Begins. And these were all made with the original group of people, S.S. Wilson and Brian Maddock, the writers, and Ron Underwood. Then after that, 11 years later, they did Tremors 5 Bloodlines and Tremors A Cold Day in Hell in 2018. And they did another one called Tremors Shrieker Island. And then they actually did a TV show, a series that started, it was on 2003 on the Sci-Fi Channel, but only lasted one season. And there's a television also in 2007 series in 2017, but no episodes of the show were ever filmed. That's what I love about modest successes in movies where like especially this one and Hellraiser and like Anaconda and other movies that like they do so well in rentals that they just beat the dead horse with so many shitty direct-to-video sequels.
They pulp that poor horse into the ground.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And Fred Ward was in Tremors 2, but Michael Gross, the guy plays the prepper guy, the conspiracy theorist, doomsday prepper guy, has been in quite a few of them. And he kind of latched onto the series after it was on. Kevin Bacon, he was so ashamed of this movie when it came out. If you read all the trivia, he talks about how he warmed up to it later, but initially he was kind of at a low period in his career and needed some money because he was having a kid and all this kind of stuff. Decided to take this movie, and he had a great time filming it, but he was really kind of like not that open about being in it.
What he should have been upset about was that the poster and the box for the VHS did not quite live up to the same promise as the graboid, the monster that they actually gave us. Oh, that was really cool. In that box, man, those jaws are open. Those are massive teeth, and we don't quite get that in this.
I have to look it up again. Hold on. Oh yeah, you're right. It's like Jaws, where the graboid's coming from underneath them.
Yeah,
and it looks freaking huge.
Freaking huge.
It's freaking huge. I'm gonna go on an aside here. I've been listening to some like U2 lately. I don't know. I've been kind of listening to them, and it reminds me of my favorite joke. Yes. So let's reenact the joke, Neil.
Okay.
All right. Every time I clap my hands, a child in Africa dies.
Stop clapping your hands, you daft cunt.
And scene. I thought I'd reenact that with you.
Yeah. Oh, that's a bummer. I just realized I was so ill. I missed the St. Patty's Day pub crawl with the bagpipers.
Oh, really? Oh, that sucks.
That's how sick I was that I missed that.
You must have been pretty damn sick because I know you would really.
Dude, there's no way I could have managed to keep that bag inflated and try to walk and play and deal with drunk people the whole time and weird old people like ladies that want to come up and like lift your kilt.
Let me see what you got under there.
Your bags, your bagpipes.
I don't know where you've been, but you've won first prize. There's a joke for you. While only a modest hit at the box office, Tremors went on to become a massive hit on home video purchases, rentals, and television, becoming one of the most rented films of 1990. Because of this, it has gained a very large cult following over the years. A sequel, Tremors 2 Aftershocks, was released in 1996. A second sequel, Tremors 3 Back to Perfection, was released in 2001, followed by a prequel, Tremors 4 The Legend Begins. And the three sequels were made without direct involvement from S.S. Wilson, Brent Maddock, and Ron Underwood at Stampede Entertainment, or as we like to call him, Wilson. Following an 11-year gap, Tremors 5 Bloodlines were released in 2015, with the franchise's sixth inclusion, Tremors A Cold Day in Hell, in 2018. These two films were made by Universal 1440 Entertainment without any involvement from Stampede Entertainment. All Tremors sequels thus far have been released direct-to-video without a theatrical release. No shit. Though Tremors 2 Aftershocks did receive a brief limited theatrical run, another direct-to-video sequel, Tremors Shrieker Island, was released on October 2020. In 2003, the franchise spawned a television show titled Tremors the Series. The show aired in 2003 on the Sci-Fi Channel, but was canceled after one season. A 60-minute pilot for a second television series, also titled Tremors, was filmed in 2017, but no further episodes of this show were ever filmed. Holy shit.
Beautiful job. Do you want to do the critical consensus while you're at it?
Sure. I had it on the wrong thing and I started reading. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to own it. Tremors was hailed by critics for its diverse cast and humor. The film holds a rating of 88% at the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes based on 51 reviews and an average score of 7.2 out of 10. The critical consensus reads, an affectionate throwback to 1950s creature features. Tremors reinvigorates its genre tropes with a finely balanced combination of horror and humor. James Bernadelli, praised Tremors with a 3 out of 4 rating, feeling that horror/comedies often tread too far to one side or the other of that fine line. Tremors walks it like a tightrope. Roger Ebert gave the film 3.5 out of 4, admitting he was embarrassed he enjoyed it so much, saying, Tremors succeeds in the fact that it puts its focus on fun characters instead of the creatures attacking them, and called it a goofy, dumb, fun movie. Ty Burr of Entertainment Weekly gave Tremors a B+, saying Tremors is the slacker of monster movies, bemused, improvisatory, willfully low-key. Richard Harrington of the Washington Post called the film a delightful throwback that evokes the populist spirit of 1950s B movies. Jeffrey Anderson of the San Francisco Examiner gave the film a glowing 4.5 out of 5, calling Tremors effectively terrifying when it needs to be, effectively exciting when it needs to be, and effectively hilarious when it needs to be, effectively using the word effectively too much. Tremors may very well be the best horror film, the best action flick, and the best comedy of the year.
Wow, that's a glowing review.
No shit. Tremors is very well cast with Fred Ward and Kevin Bacon, proving affable and enjoyable comedy leads. The special effects are first rate. It may not top anyone's 10 best list, but Tremors is nevertheless solid entertainment. TV Guide. In some less enthusiastic reviews, Vincent Canby, every party's got to have a pooper, remarked that the film was clearly more fun to make than it is for us to watch, and Variety gave the film a C- on the basis that Tremors has a few clever twists and characters, but ultimately can't decide on what it wants to be, flat out funny, which it's usually not, or a scare fest, which it's usually not either. Gene Siskel initially gave the film a negative review, stating, a little of it goes an awfully long way. There are just so many tricks, though, that you can't do with the worms. Tremors could make a cute short subject. It doesn't sustain itself for an entire film. However, in a rare change of heart, Siskel later reevaluated the film 2 years later, saying, this picture has grown on me. I think it's worth a second viewing. There is a spirit of good fun there, and Tremors is one of the B movies to get the formula right. I highly recommend it.
That is interesting that Siskel switched his review.
Yeah.
I watched the video of them both, and he was like giving Ebert shit. He's like, so you would actually recommend this to somebody? You know, he's been kind of a dick to Roger Ebert about it, but it's interesting that he had changed his point of view. I think this movie is fun, and often in this movie and Lake Placid are very similar in the fact that the characters are funny, the writing is smart, and both movies are short. You know, this movie is effective, and there's really not much fat to it. It's just like, here, first 10 minutes, here's our characters, here's a situation they're in, we're introducing the field where everybody's going to be, and the shit happens. And there's nothing else that's like forced. There's no like side things going on or other stuff that people would add. It's just what it is. It's fun and short.
I kind of like the formula for a movie like this and for a movie like Lake Placid, where you're not calling in like, you know, a superhero specialist who walks away from explosions in slow motion, that it's just a couple of average schnooks.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're put in this situation, and it's really funny because my wife and I were having this conversation that someone was like, oh my God, like, that's so clever. You guys are so clever. How do you think of this stuff? Well, we grew up poor. So you had to learn to improvise. And you got these guys that don't look like they came from great means, probably that are used to improvising and thinking on their feet. And they do exactly that. And just enjoy the hell out of it for that reason alone. You know, their whole motivation when they're driving out of town, like, I can't believe we turned down free beer. That's just, they're not complicated people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, we could get them to stick around. We'll promise them some beer. I can't believe we turned it down. I don't know how many times I've helped people move their entire home over the course of a weekend for just some free beer.
Yeah, I agree. It's fun, and yeah, it's just normal people dealing with a crazy situation, and they get good character actors, not like a big star or something like that, and they just fill the roles and have fun with it. And that's very similar to Lake Placid. There's not like a superstar actor in any of the roles. It's just a bunch of fun people who do a good job in whatever role they're in. Fred Ward is super funny in this, and Michael Gross and Reba McEntire is actually pretty good in this too, which is, you know, I guess it wouldn't really surprise me, but you're not used to seeing her in movies. And there's a lot of people that you've seen in other movies is just minor characters in this. Of course, you've got Victor Wong is Walter Chang.
What's in the
and
bottle, Wang?
he's so awesome in John Carpenter movies, as Big Trouble in Little China and Prince of Darkness, and that even Bibi Besh, who's the doctor's wife, I just saw her in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan a couple of days ago, and she was awesome in that. So it's just a fun movie, and everybody, like the girl Finn Carter who plays the graduate student, she's not a glamorous actress. She's just like a regular looking lady. She's cute and everything, but she's not like what Kevin Bacon imagined when when they wanted to meet her, like tall blonde with long legs and stuff like that. She's just kind of she's believable in her job. Dave, what do you think?
No, I agree. These movies are fun. This is a good formula, and I want to say I liked it better than I remember what we watched last week. But I didn't hate last week's movie. But
Eight-Legged Freaks is what we watched.
Hey, that was fun. Eight-Legged Freaks was fun. But I think Tremors is up there with Lake Placid. It's enjoyable. Characters are good. It's well written. It's just fun. And I want to say, like, it's interesting that Kevin Bacon was so ashamed of this, because I think it's one of his more memorable roles, right?
Yeah, and he did a good job. He was funny, and he, I don't think he was phoning it in. Even if he was ashamed of the movie, he still did a good job in it. He didn't act like he was, it was beneath him or anything like that. Both him and Fred Ward have a good chemistry together, and they act like friends, or you believe that they're friends. And I do want to comment on Fred Ward's hairline. That guy's got a hell of a hairline. Hell of a hairline, man. That guy's, got the thick old head of hair. So yeah, I don't think he phoned it in. And then he's turned around. There was like a making of, like an official making of retrospective, and he's in it, and he talks about how he's really turned around on the movie, and so many people have commented that they love this movie. And Michael Gross, who was known as the dad on Family Ties, this really kind of extended his career, and people always come up to him and say, I love Tremors. It's such a good movie.
Yeah.
I guess Finn Carter kind of fell on some hard times lately, though.
Yeah, I saw that. It makes me kind of sad. And she like got busted for like credit card fraud or something. Just kind of sad. But she was good in the movie, and she'd been in some other stuff after this. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's critically acclaimed, and it's got a nice cult following, obviously, with all the damn sequels that are in there. And what does it have that it makes it even better? Practical effects.
Those graboids are so awesome.
And I was watching a thing about the special effects, and a lot of it was miniatures. Like when Reba McEntire, Michael Gross characters are fighting it in their cinder block basement. That's a miniature in a miniature basement, and they composite it in. And there's one shot that looks kind of bad where you can see it's like a green screen or whatever, but it's cool. It's tactile. You think it's there, and when it's moving and you see the dirt rise and all that kind of stuff, you can't beat that. It's fun. It's way better than any CGI.
Was it you broke into the wrong rumpus room?
And that's one thing I love about the movie. It is like a prepper's dream, or like a survivalist dream. You're like, what would you do if you were in that situation? What would happen? You like, you have a bunch of guns. Oh yeah. Or, that it's kind of cool to imagine yourself like in a zombie scenario or a tremor scenario. It's like, how would you survive in dealing with that kind of stuff?
You know what it reminded me of? And I just like this movie because I don't, what state was it supposed to occur in?
I think it was in Nevada.
In Nevada.
Yeah.
Okay. It reminded me of New Mexico in so many ways.
Oh yeah, me too.
Just like you get that odd sort of assortment of people that all want to like be like left alone. They all want to do their own thing, but yet they still all congregate together, even though they're different in so many ways. So there's the 550 as it goes into Farmington, New Mexico, and then the county road that you lived on. Mm-hmm. All those houses that were in between there.
Yeah.
Okay. So occasionally you get invited out to somebody's house because they built all those big houses there, and you'd go in and then they say, hey, you want to see what my dad's got? And then, they flip a switch and they have this giant room just like filled with guns or like food and stuff like that. That's what that reminded me of. It's like, okay, totally. Cool. You're like, your dad's paranoid now. I get it. That's awesome. Can we shoot that?
I agree with you in the scene in the sense that the Southwest is beautiful. You know, wherever they were, like the Nevada, some of it in Nevada, some of it in California, but it does look very Southwest, like Utah and New Mexico. Just there's nothing like it, especially when it's when it's cold out. You see the kind of the snow on the top of the mountains and the sun in the sunsets and stuff like that. Yeah, it's hard to beat that. That's like worth the better than any cinematography or set decorations. The mountains look so good.
It's going to sound really politically incorrect, but are we doing a podcast about movies or are we doing a commercial for feminine hygiene right now? What are you doing?
Did I say that refreshing or something? No. I want to play tennis.
But going back to your practical effects thing, I like the fact that a lot of it took place in this small area. So, you think about filming. They just built this small little town that had 4 or 5 little houses, a trailer, whatever. They shot it all right there. Like the good portion of the movie takes place right there.
Yeah, there's only 2 interiors in the entire movie: the interior of the store and the interior of the prepper's house. That was it.
That could have been
everything else is outside.
That could have been like Waterflu, New Mexico, or Fruitland, where there's a lot more there now, but like when we were kids. But this has, and I don't know, this always bugs me in movies, and I'm going to ask you guys, but when you guys were little, okay, growing up where you did, out where you did, Dave, you were more like in town, but did you ever just spend like a Saturday just like with a shovel, like building a dugout fort?
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're building a dugout fort, and then you get in there, and then you got like an a-hole cousin or somebody that comes start stomping on it, and then you get all this dirt in your face, and you're worried about it collapsing, and then your mom and dad yell at you, and you can't do that. That's dangerous. And then your dad's like, "Don't worry about it. Put a stick in there, you'll be fine." Whenever I see something get pulled underground in one of those scenes, that's where I think you couldn't pay me enough money. Like, okay, you're going to get pulled down into some, quicksand. Okay, cool. That's great. That's some water. It's a little bit of muck under there. Boom, we'll come out of that. But like getting pulled down into, I don't understand how that works. I don't want to understand how it works, but I'm not taking a face full of sand.
Yeah.
It's just like almost an irrational fear when I see stuff like that going on. Like, nope, forget that. That's why I would fight those damn graboids. You're not taking me down underground, buddy.
Well, it reminds me of one summer where I think we put in a new septic tank on the property in Kirtland, and they had dug a trench that was like 4 feet deep from the road all the way to the back of the property. And for like 2 weeks, it was like I was like playing Army all the time. I was blowing shit up in there and blowing up G.I. Joes and playing Army and, jumping out and storming and running back and stuff. And just, that was the most fun time I ever had. Just, it was during the summer. So we had fireworks and stuff. It was amazing. Just throwing black cats over the side at each other.
My son was still impressed that you can get fireworks year round. They have a year round. You know where the Kentucky Fried Chicken used to be there on the corner? Just a little ways down towards the Farmington side, there is a 24/7. It's
365.
365 fireworks stand. And my son was like, you get fireworks all the time. It's like, yeah, that's what we used to do. We used to throw them at each other. It used to be entertaining.
I remember like blowing my thumbnail off by holding a black cat. Where like I can't remember my friend Pat who lived down the street. We're like seeing how long we could hold a black cat before it would go off, and we'd light the fuse. And I held on to it too long, and it just boom, it blew up, and my thumbnail was like loose. And then finally it fell off. I was like, oops. And I covered it with a Band-Aid, and I didn't waited for my mom not to notice. And like finally, she's like, "What the hell happened to you?" "Oh, fireworks." "God damn it!" Blah blah blah. And just getting chewed out.
I can hear that ass chewing in my head very, very clearly in your mom's voice.
Go ahead and do it. Go out there and light them all off and blow yourself up.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's like Hispanic parenting. If you fall down, do it again. See what happens. Are you happy now? You okay? They don't even say you're okay or, oh no. They're like, what are you doing? Get up. What's wrong with you? Why are you crying?
Oh, yeah. Why are you crying? That's
why are you crying?
See, I wonder if it's a thing where we grew up, because that Obviously, I did not grow up Hispanic or Native American like you did, but it's exactly the same. I got exactly the same speeches.
Do it again. See what happens. So let's talk about the actual movie for a little bit. The one thing I enjoyed is the setup. They did a really good job of setting up, like what David said, just setting up the town, the small area that everything takes place in. But at the beginning, they're sleeping in the truck and they're right at the edge of the cliff, and the cliff plays a part later in the movie, at the climax of the movie, and they spend a nice 10 minutes of just laying everything out. The characters feel, well written, the way they interact with each other, their whole rock, paper, scissors stuff, and then they introduce all the characters in an organic way where you meet the seismologist and they talk to her, and then they go to the shop and they meet the Gummers, the two local preppers, Michael Gross and Reba McEntire, and he's bitching out Walter Chang saying, well, these are not Hydroshock bullets, Hydroshock shells. And, so you kind of immediately know what they're about. And everything is done really efficiently. So I think it's smart writing that, even the Pepsi cooler, the refrigerator comes into play. He mentions that it's got a problem or makes noise, whatever, and that comes into play later. So everything is just done, introduced and kind of laid out in a nice way. It's kind of like James Cameron in Aliens, we're just, and Gail Ann Hurd, who also, produced the Terminator series. She's a producer on this, but it reminded me of that, where it was nice how they laid everything out that played into things later. It was a credit to the people who wrote it.
They chopped up the meat. They separated the peas from the carrots. They got the spoon ready, and they gave them to you each one scoop at a time.
Exactly. Everything was ready for it. And the introduction of the monster was done well. Like Rhonda's getting into the truck, and then you see it, from the monster's POV. Even though the monster's blind, you still have monster cam, following her. And then you see people starting to get knocked off, like the road workers and the poor guy whose sheep get murdered, and the way he gets pulled into the dirt.
Can't deal with that. Sorry, buddy. You're on your own. Save me. Sorry. You shouldn't have been near the sheep, partner. You're done.
Oh, when they find the old guy Edgar on the tower, it's like, why did he climb up there? And then, you see why was he afraid to crawl down? And of course they had to explain that later. We're on the rocks. So yeah, it's smartly written. They just, a lot of people could learn from the screenplay about how to introduce things and how to play them out. Like sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, what is this? What are they doing? What the hell's going on? Like a Michael Bay movie or a Fast and the Furious movie. It was like, it's just.
Here is a good time for a lens flare. You know what we need? We need a monologue with a greasy dude in a tank top and cars that defy the laws of physics.
That always drives me nuts about that series. And I think we've talked about it before, where in the first freaking movie, they're stealing stereos and VCRs and DVD players like that. And by the end of it, they're like, oh yeah, they're international super spies with deep, dark pasts and stuff like that. Like, weren't you guys petty thugs in the first movie?
Well, you know how you get drawn into something like that, right? Family.
Quarter mile at a time? Oh,
family.
Okay. Family. You live your life a quarter mile at a time. And the kills are really good, but they're not very bloody. But they're done in a cool way. Like the poor guy gets sucked into the ground. You just see his hat, and then they pull the hat up, and his face is just kind of sticking up.
He didn't catch the face full of dirt. Poor guy. Good for him.
Well, and I like how they set that up. You always think that it only takes the person, but I think, Eric, you were just about to say the doctor when it pulls the station wagon under.
Yeah.
That's when you're like, oh shit, this thing can do a lot more than. You're not safe in a car. So it kind of set it up from just small to big to when it started tearing down the buildings.
Well, and the fact that they it changes up. Like the graboids are become more intelligent. So like you can kill it one way the first time, but it figures it out, and you'd have to figure out another way to do it. And I think that it's done pretty well. I like the when they're on the horses and they get chased and the graboid dies running into the cement, the culvert. ravine there, and that was kind of cool and just nice and gross and lots of stickiness and stuff. Viscera, whatever. It's gross.
Were there 4 total Graboids?
Yeah, 4 of them.
4 total. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because the
we
way they die.
We had enough for some sequels, though.
Oh yeah, totally. I did love the way when Fred Ward stepped in the prairie dog hole, how he acted. He was like, ah! He totally freaked out. I thought that was super funny.
This movie was enough to make me forgive him for Remo Williams.
Yeah. That was a bad movie. I remember really wanting to see that.
Oh, God, I wanted it to be so good.
Yeah, as a kid. And just really, really wanted to enjoy it. And one of those first experiences of being disappointed as a kid, because when you're young, you'll just watch anything and go, yeah, it was pretty good. But I was like, that wasn't very good.
Nope. Joel Grey dressed up as a tiny Korean man.
Yeah.
Try to get away with that now.
Oh yeah, that would be really bad. First one dies by running into the ravine. The second one, I like when they're trapped on the rocks. The three of them, and they have to kind of use the pole vault to get to the truck, and how she's driving with her hands and stuff. That was pretty cool. Makes me want to get a little Mazda truck. Remember the little Mazda pickups?
Mm-hmm.
They're not making them anymore.
It was that, and then the Nissans.
Yeah. And there was the Subaru had that little one. It was like a sort of the Baja. They had like a little tiny bed pickup. It's like, what the hell can you put in the back of there?
Well, and then Marty McFly sold it with his Toyota. Come on, after that was all you wanted.
Everybody wanted the black pimped out Toyota with a roll bar and KC lights.
Yeah, I didn't get the roll bar, but I went ahead and got the Toyota though.
Mm-hmm.
Good truck. Shout out Toyota. Have a little sponsorship cash. Got almost 200,000 miles on that bad boy Toyota. Let's hear it.
200,000? That's really good.
Well, it'll probably drive for almost 4.
Yeah. It's Toyotas, man.
What's the old joke? What's it like to get run over by a Toyota? Oh, what a feeling. Old Toyota slogan joke.
When they get back to the store, and of course there's a little bit of tension between Val and Rhonda. Excuse me, I got a burp.
Okay, it's like, yeah, there's a little pause, and I was like, do you want us to fill in with that? Like,
yeah, I know.
Like you started the thought, and I got to finish.
Yeah,
that's what you get for sucking down all that stuff while you were trying to talk. Get a little CO2 in, CO2 out.
I feel like it was spaghetti. I had spaghetti and some Diet Dr. Peppers.
All right, calm down there, 8 Mile.
I know, Mom, spaghetti. I'm just sweating. Yeah. So the whole movie everything kind of shifts to the town, the little town square part when the store, and poor Walter gets taken out, which is sad.
Yeah. It's kind of like pre-Squid Games. It's like, right, what are we going to do now to try to get away? This is what we're going to do. You can't make it. Sorry, you're screwed. You die.
I did a comment on Rhonda and her hairy legs when she has to take her pants off, and when Kevin Bacon's fixing her up, I was like, those are some hairy legs.
Good observation. Thank you.
But I liked it. It wasn't exploitative. There was no like she had to do that out of necessity, and it wasn't like leering or anything like that. It was kind of fun. I really think that's why this movie is so easy to like, is that it's super short. It was like 96 minutes, and you could watch it almost on any station and really not have to edit it that much. So you just sit down and watch it. If it was on TBS, you're like, oh shit, Tremors is on again. You just sit down and enjoy it. It's a fun movie. I do love the Gummers, the insane amount of guns they had, the gigantic elephant gun they killed the graboid with. It's like
I said,
it's like David's dad.
It
reminds me of being back in New Mexico.
Well, I like that shot, the way they set that up. They had the guns, right? They each had their one gun, and they're shooting at the thing, and then when it really starts I think coming at him, the camera pans over the whole wall just full of guns.
Yeah, that's a funny joke because you just when you think that they're like out of guns or something like that, you just see like, oh shit, they're really
well, you had the cork board that was there first, and it just had a couple screwdrivers on it, kind of organized, and it was smaller. And then when the camera pans over this giant cork board just full of guns, I don't know. I like the way they set that up. I thought that was good.
Yeah, it was really good. And one other thing they did good setting up is the bulldozer, because they were talking about trash day and helping them, Walter with the trash and stuff like that. And you see them use the bulldozer tractor thing in the, that they know how to drive it. So it's just, it puts in your mind that they could use it later, and they do. And it's just fun in the ways they pick to dispose of the graboids. Like one runs into the wall, one gets blown up with gets shot a bunch of times, and then the fishing one is my favorite, where they're all stuck on the rocks, and of course the Michael Gross's character, I keep forgetting his name, Gummer, Bert Gummer. He had started making homemade explosives like pipe bombs and stuff like that, and they use the line, the fuse, and blow it up.
Wait, prepping, desert, making homemade explosives. New Mexico.
And that was a lot of fun, but then it wises up and they can't kill it that way again. And so he spits it back out and almost kills everybody.
I would have sent that annoying kid out there with it. Like I would have.
Oh no, that's the one kid I was hoping he would die so bad. Melvin, the annoying kid. I was like, please kill this kid. Please kill him.
Yeah, I would have strapped the bomb. I would have strapped a couple bombs to Melvin and pushed him out there. Told him to get running.
And I almost thought the little girl was going to die, the one on the pogo stick, but they didn't. They weren't that mean. They weren't that mean spirited in the movie. That probably would have moved it from PG-13 to R if you knock off a little girl on a pogo stick. Have her get eaten.
I like that they gave Melvin the empty the gun that wasn't loaded.
Yeah, and that is fun. Yeah, that was also another kind of a cool character thing, because Bird gives Melvin the gun, and then he realizes it's unloaded. But when Melvin hands the gun back to Bert, he still checks it. He's savvy with guns. He still checks it and then makes sure it's still unloaded. Then puts it back in the holster. It's like, I don't know. Gross was probably he did a lot of he did little nuances to make Bert believable.
And I think that was the sorry. I think that was the toughest thing for me when I first watched this, because I couldn't get him out of my head as being Michael P. Keaton's dad.
Yeah.
I had a hard time with that. I'm like, Michael Keaton's dad would never do that. Michael P. Keaton's dad's in touch with his feelings. He's got a sensitive beard. He uses his words. He never gets drunk or hits anybody and doesn't belittle anyone. This is not what he does. He would never do that. And then you see him there. It's like, oh, okay. Now as I'm getting older, I'm like, okay, I buy that more.
Yeah, and Family Ties, I think, has faded a lot from people's memories. It's not one of those sitcoms that still last. Oh, let's watch some old Family Ties reruns or whatever. So I think he did a good job of erasing that kind of taking the opposite role of what had been known for in the TV shows. But I do love they try to get away on the tractor. They want to blow up the other graboid, and then at the end they do a mad dash and they use Chekhov's cliff. You saw the cliff in the first reel, and you wind up seeing it again in the last reel while coaxing him at.
What's the cliff doing? It's alone. Chekhov.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought of that. That was right off the top of my head. You're welcome.
But anyway, it's a fun movie. If you haven't seen it, you definitely got to check it out. It really holds up, and it's just a fun creature feature. It doesn't try to be anything else than what it is. You want to see some monsters chase people around, and then people run away from it and kill it in fun ways. It's kind of like Lake Placid. They're both very similar in that they're both entertaining and worth to sit down and not really waste too much of your brain, and then just have a good time with it. Next week's movie, Deep Blue Sea, is all like that as well.
Yeah.
LL Cool J holding it down in that movie, making it out alive.
But don't ruin it.
I have not seen that in forever, so I'm looking forward to seeing it, because going back and watching these movies, like both all three, or like, Lake Placid, Lake of Freaks, and this one I hadn't really seen in a long, long time, so it was kind of fun to go back and watch them and find them enjoyable and still fun to check out.
Sammy really likes Deep Blue Sea, so we see that occasionally. Having a hard time with that sentence, so eventually I got it out. Thank you. Good for me.
I included the box office for 1990, and it's kind of funny to see what was the biggest hit. It was Ghost, but it only made $205 million domestically. I guess if you triple that, I guess it would be around 600 now, I guess, for inflation. But it's weird to know that Ghost and then Pretty Woman were the two top movie moneymakers of 1990. Home Alone, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I know for a fact that Neil and I went to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the theater.
For a fact.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I went and saw it in the theater.
Yeah, it made $135 million. It was a fun movie. Maybe we'll have to do that someday. The Hunt for Red October.
These
Total
were the
Recall.
days of Yuri Gagarin and Sputnik.
Oh, I should have left you some time to do that.
When the world trembled at the sound of our rockets. Now let them tremble at the sound of my atrocious Russian accent.
I like in that movie where they just give up, where they're all speaking in Russian, and then all of a sudden it just, okay, everybody speaking English
Let's
now.
go. We can't afford the subtitles. Spend all of our money on submarines.
So Total Recall was number 6. Amazing movie. Die Hard 2. Driving Miss Daisy. Dick Tracy. That's a movie that I don't think anybody remembers nowadays. Who's like, hey, let's watch Dick Tracy.
Who Tracy?
Dick.
Oh. I got a Hunt for Red October joke.
Okay, go ahead.
You know why Dave likes submarines?
Why?
Full of semen.
God damn it.
God damn it.
God damn you, Neil.
Presumed Innocent. I don't even remember that one. Is that does that have
Yeah, that was the
Harrison
one with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, Harrison Ford was in that one, yeah. Days of Thunder, Another 48 Hours, Bird on a Wire, Born on the 4th of July. Have I told you my Born on the 4th of July story? Probably have.
Let's hear it.
All right. There was a girl that I had been wanting to ask out on a date for a very, very, very long time. And she's always had boyfriends during this time, whatever. And I finally get her to go on a date with me, and we go to the movies, and we see Born on the 4th of July, which is super, super long and fucking depressing. It's like, why the hell did I pick this movie? And it was in December, too, because I remember it was snowing driving back. It was released on December 22nd, so we probably saw it like during a winter break or something like that. It was just depressing. And I like ruined my shot because we were both like, well, that movie wasn't very fun.
Can I tell you that what's even more depressing is I've been going through the list as you were telling this story. And 1990, I was a senior in high school and was watching a lot of films. I've gotten down to 81, and I have seen all of these movies.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Destiny, Space Invaders, Quick Change, Firebirds, Wild at Heart, Mermaids, Lord of the... I've seen all of these movies.
We went to the movies so much as teenagers because that was basically all there was to do in Farmington on a weekend.
Well, there was other things too, but kind of had to drag you to those.
I know, if you weren't like, drunk in a stranger's house somewhere, you were at the movies. If you weren't pretending to go to Bible study with your friend just to get out of the house.
I don't know what you're talking about. I plead the fifth.
Or actually, we would go for maybe 30 minutes just so.
So that way it wasn't a lie.
Yeah.
We did go. You could look him dead in the face and say, I went to church.
Yes.
Yes. That way Jesus can't be mad. We didn't lie.
You made an appearance. War of the Roses. Remember seeing that in the theater. It was a big year for Seagal. Hard to Kill and Marked for Death.
Last time he was under 200 pounds.
Tango and Cash. Terrible movie. RoboCop 2 we got to do someday because that is underrated. It is just so wild and nutty. It's like that's when you eat a lot of granola and you take a dump. It's wild and nutty.
Hey, wasn't Tango and Cash one of my? You guys have only let me have 2 movies, right?
I wouldn't say we let you. Just advocate for yourself more, Dave. Which pick a movie.
I tried, goddammit. You shut it down. So there's, I think,
What was the movie, you big crybaby?
What do we have? 500 episodes, and you've given me.
We're not even at 200 yet.
500 episodes. Yeah. Thanks for paying attention, Dave.
Yeah, that you've given me the never-ending story in Tango and Cash.
Uh-huh.
David's
and look how those went.
Yeah, but Neverending Story was one of our top downloads.
That is true. There are fans.
People wanted to hear my rendition of the song. That's all they wanted.
Yeah. You're welcome.
So you need to get your ass on that Google Doc and you need to put some movies in there.
Well, we still need to listen to the one guy that wrote a couple shows ago saying, "Watch my movie."
There is Solar Babies, and I want to pre-watch it, like a preview it, to see if I could actually sit through the entire thing.
Oh no! If we can do some of that jacked up Suspiria, if we can do Suspiria, if we can do Black Christmas, we could watch Solar Babies.
I was thinking we have not done a Dario Argento movie lately, and we need to do Deep Red. Profondo Rosso. Neil, I think you would absolutely positively hate it.
I just want to watch Solar Babies so I could just go, Michael, every time he comes on screen.
What's his name? Jason Patrick?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Henry and June was out in 96 that year. Remember Henry and June, the NC-17 movie?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm. I know. Wild Orchid. Yeah. Ooh, Wild Orchid. Speaking of NC-17, that was one you would rent.
How many faces ago was that for Mickey Rourke?
For Mickey Rourke, yeah, that was I think he still had his original face in Wild Orchid.
Solar Babies is on Tubi.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Seems like there's almost no excuse at this point.
Yeah.
Pluto TV.
We're already locked in for the next 2 months. I've set up. I got us all ready, and the movie's picked out.
Join Dave and Neil for the Right Next Door to the Video Store podcast with your hosts Dave and Neil. First episode, Solar Babies.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I'll give it a shot and see how entertaining it is.
Well,
I never even watched it to begin with.
Let's email it back and see what month you prefer us to do it. Like, isn't it? What's the month that we do like bunch of shitty movies? Is that November?
Yeah, Turkey month.
Yeah, Turkey month. See if is it a turkey worthy movie? It
could be. I have like Ghost Dad ready for Turkey month. Bill Cosby. Well, anyway, that was Tremors. And check it out if you have not seen it. It is pretty good. If you want to hit us up with suggestions that I may or may not take into consideration, rvspodcast222@gmail.com. Armando, our listener Armando, recommended Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and I added that for April. So yes, I do listen. You should see the looks they're both giving me.
Yeah.
So rvspodcast222@gmail.com. We're on Threads. We're on Instagram. We are on Facebook. And we're out there. So check us out. Neil, have anything to add?
Yes, I do. Ryan, I know you said you didn't know if we'd be able to read this on the podcast, but yes, I'm going to read this on the podcast. You sent a little note to Eric that he forwarded to me for a band called Curb Stomp the Predator. And I got to tell you, I listened to a little bit of it, and in the vernacular of the kids, it slaps.
It's a banger.
I enjoy it. It's right up my alley for the type of music that I enjoy. The problem now is that I've said this, all 4 of our listeners might go tune into it and listen to it and go, what the fuck does this guy listen to? You know what? Good music. That's what I listen to. So thank you, Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Ryan. If you have any other suggestions for us too, like cool podcasts or music or other things like that, we love to check those out. So we appreciate it. And Dave, anything to add?
Nope. Good movie. Go ahead and watch it. This has been a fun few weeks.
Cool. All right. We'll see you next week for what do we do? Oh, Deep Blue Sea. Man,
Goodbye,
I've seen your
everybody.
moments today. Deep Blue Sea. So thanks, everybody.
Have a good week, everyone.
Dave.
Oh, have a
Guess
good week.
no-
I thought we already said our goodbye. I'm sitting back hanging out.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store Podcast.